only way that you could argue it was respect, given that Mr. Cameron, Mr. Hunt, and the vanquished former administration have no electoral mandate on this issue, and therefore, in our system,
they have more electoral mandate over healthcare than you do.
Well, let's just talk about the Prime Minister, because that's a very good point. Thank you for reminding me. The Prime Minister came to the borough in May and said there would be a fully functioning A&E. Now, clearly, Sir Bruce Keogh hasn't said anything like that. Now, I was a little surprised to see the Daily Mail calling him a liar recently, given that, although it's a fine paper and it does a very good job on many occasions. But in terms of getting to the truth of that issue, of this fully functioning A&E, would you say that there's an absolute clarity yet of what that means and what the public understand? Or would you say we still have some way to go of what a fully functioning A&E would be, depending on Sir Bruce Keogh's work?
So I think we will try to be very clear that we're waiting for him to opine on what the services are that would fit into the definitions we've spoken about. For once, I agree with the statement you made, but I'm very glad you asked me to comment on us on the previous days, because we're verging outside the territory of what officials who work for the NHS can talk about, and it's getting very political and very harsh comments.
Can we just ask a couple of questions to Imperial about a few things that have been an issue of concern? Obviously, we're doing a review of the board and the competencies of the board, which we doubt at the moment, and you will want to obviously put forward your arguments on that. But just in terms of public records show that 16 Imperial board meetings that have occurred since 2012, Shaping a Healthier Future has only been discussed 9 times out of all 16. Given it's so intrinsic, what's the reason that it was only challenged 9 times? And are you happy with that as a level of governance, given the level of change and the lack of democratic mandate elsewhere?
So I can't say I've gone back and checked the last 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone back and checked the last 16.
212.
As you know, I've been there since April of this year, and each board meeting that I've been at, it's obviously been a key topic of discussion. I'd have to go back and check previous board papers. There are other directors here that may be able to comment on the previous time, but since I've been there, it's been discussed every meeting.
We've gone through the minutes and had some analysis, and it's only been discussed 9 times out of 16. Which, if that was true, because I mean, you might want to check the figures yourself, as you quite rightly say, would that be a concern to you?
Well, I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. I suspect you're referring to the public board meeting that you would have access to. As you'd be well aware, the board meets on a monthly basis. It meets every bi-monthly in public, it meets bi-monthly in private, it meets on the alternate months for workshops and strategy seminars, and it has 5 subcommittees. So I'm not sure if you're referring to all of those or just to the public board meetings, but I can assure you it will have been, no doubt, discussed at many of those private sessions, at many of the seminars, at many of the strategy workshops, and at many of the subcommittees, and I need to go back and check each of these to be able to answer your question.
Would you write to me about that?
I'd be very happy to.
Thank you very much. Well, just so you know, in terms of the public meetings, which is where the democratic accountability plays out for such a trust, we've measured 9 times, but also when we've gone through the minutes, it seems to be only three serious challenges. So if you could put that into your explanation as well, we'd be interested just to analyse that and see how that fits with our other views, which you don't need to answer because I'm assuming you just say yes. You'd be happy to do that.
Have you got a number?
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions. It's just
just the scale of things going to go at 10 points. So you decide whether to extend it or not.
You've seen just one question I would like to ask on Imperial's finances. The Evening Standard contacted me to say they'd been given an email that said finances erg, and then went on to say, I'm sorry to report that our divisional and trust finances are awful this month. What has become clear is that we don't have adequate control of our spending. And clearly, in any organisation, having robust financial management has massive effects on the outcomes, and in your case, it's clinical outcomes. Can you give us a report on these erg finances?
So there's no doubt that the first few months of this financial year have been challenging financially. I don't know that we would be alone as a trust in saying that finances are tight, and obviously it's always a very fine balance to ensure that you're getting best possible quality of care delivered efficiently and effectively, and certainly at Imperial that's always what we put as our number one concern. If you look at our year-to-date performance to the end of month 5, which is to the end of October, end of August, sorry, our August position was a surplus of 0.8 million, which was ahead of budget by 0.2. That still leaves us with a small year-to-date deficit of 1.8 million, but we were pleased to see that we had improved our financial performance in month 5, and we believe we are on track to achieve a small surplus at year end. When you're managing a budget, we have a budget of about £1 billion, so it is a key focus for all of our executives. I think the email that you are referring to by one of our divisional directors, he was really trying to demonstrate to the staff that he works with that this is something that needs to be seen as a key priority for each of the managers within our organisation, and I'm pleased to see that we have seen a good performance in month 5. We should get our month 6 results shortly.
Can I ask the committee to extend the team until 10:15? Okay.
Thanks very much. Just on that then, because it goes on to say, that ICT beds are going to be closed, so obviously that's a direct clinical consequence. Can you detail what other measures were taken to get these awful finances back into balance? Are you able to publish a sort of full comprehensive review of how you did that and what the effects were? Because I appreciate it would be a difficult scenario to manage, so it would be good to have a holistic view of exactly all the actions that were taken to get the finances into a situation where they weren't described as out of control.
So just to confirm on the ICU beds were not shut. In fact, we had 11 beds at Hammersmith, and that increased to 14 beds. We actually changed the reconfiguration of beds, and what was as an ICU bed and what was as an HDU bed. So we've much more efficiently used the resources within Hammersmith rather than having 11 ICU beds open. In relation to the range of strategies to manage finances, as you're right, there are a range of strategies that all trusts use. One of the things that we are particularly cognizant of is any financial measures can have an impact on the quality and safety of patient care. So we have a very detailed quality improvement assessment of each of our savings initiatives that's undertaken by our medical director and our nursing director, looking at a risk rating of any initiative, and any initiative that has a high risk rating needs to be assessed by the medical director and the nursing director jointly to ensure that it is a safe and effective measure to put in place before it is implemented. That's been in place for about 18 months now, and Chris might like to give you a little bit more detail on that. In relation to the sorts of initiatives that we've looked at, some of them were detailed in that email. A lot of it has been a focus on salaries and wages. That's not surprising, since about 2/3 of our expenditure relates to salaries and wages. And you will have noticed in that email that some of it related to bank of agency staff, which you'll be well aware come at a premium. If you have a vacancy and you employ bank and agency staff, it is more expensive and a lower quality of care than having permanent staff in position. So we've been doing a lot of work looking at reducing our vacancy levels to be able to minimise the usage of bank and agency staff. There are also a range of initiatives that all organisations will look at to really look at cross-cutting strategies to more effectively use your resources. As you know, we are charged with effectively discharging public purse. That's obviously a key consideration for us. We've been doing a lot of work on initiatives across the NHS in terms of procurement and getting more effective procurement by grouping together with other NHS trusts within London and outside of London to lower procurement.
Could I just cut in a little bit, because we've got a limited amount of time, and I hate the idea of it being filibustered out. But could you just clarify for me then, given that this massive range of things you told us, none of which involve cutting any medical care or reducing any, that you're absolutely saying no beds were closed, no medical care was reduced in any way, no one was told not to take overtime, nothing was reduced in anything to do with, as a consequence of that awful financial situation. And secondly, and I'd be grateful if you keep your answers short, we've only got 15 minutes. Secondly, given if this was a public limited company, your share price would have collapsed, wouldn't it? So, what did you consider telling the board about withdrawing your foundation status, given that it's in the email?
So, trying to keep my answers brief, and perhaps I'll keep them as brief as the questions. What I would say about each of the initiatives, I think is really saying that we look at each of them extremely carefully. What that email did focus on was controls, and it would be fair to say that we needed to put in more stringent controls to make sure that when bank and agency staff were being engaged, that they were really essential to be engaged and they couldn't be staff redeployed from other areas. As you know, we do need to report on safe nursing staff levels, and they're on our website and they're reported nationally, and I think you'll see that we're performing very well in terms of safe staffing levels. So I think it's, you know, you need to always support your staff to make sure they're not just making the easiest decision, they are making the most efficient decision. In relation to question 2, which is about foundation trust status, as you know, the next step for us in that is the outcome from our CQC visit. We should receive the outcome to that towards the end of November, early December. We need to achieve a good or outstanding on that to go to the next step in the FT process, and that really is what the determining factor is. Obviously, when we come to our TDA board to board, which will be in the early part of 2015, they will look at our financial sustainability. So that will be a key question for the TDA. Do they think our finances are in a position where we are financially sustainable? And to really demonstrate that, you need to show consistent performance across a number of years.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. The question is, did you report that foundation, the fact that you considered withdrawing the foundation trust, which I imagine that divisional manager only said after talking to someone senior in the organisation, that it's in the email that the foundation trust bit was considered being withdrawn. Did that get, why that doesn't appear to have gone to the board, and is that not another concern about the failure of governance of that, this board?
No, it's not a matter of withdrawing an application as such. There is a process to go through for foundation trust status. If we were not in a financially stable position, we would not be able to go forward for our FT consideration by the TDA. So it's not a matter of us withdrawing or keeping an FT process in train. It is a matter for our authority, which is the TDA, to make a judgment about what our financial performance is and whether we are in a sustainable financial position. Obviously, from a board perspective, we talk about our financial performance at each of our board finance and investment committees and at each of our board meetings. So the board has been very well briefed on our financial position year to date, and on a monthly basis, the steps that we have in place and the initiatives we have to bring our financial position back to a break-even position.
So it's quite interesting just to look at, when you do an assessment of an organisation, you look at tells of how robust their management structures are. So it was only, I appreciate before your time, what was alarming this time last year was the failure on cancer care and the issues around that, and more importantly, the failure of Imperial to pick that up themselves. And then now we've seen, you know, failures as significant on finances. Have you done any, what review have you done to look at your systems and processes to ensure that Imperial is a robust organisation? Is it you doing it, or have you brought in experts to carry this out? Who were they, and is that information publicly available?
The Foundation Trust process is quite a well laid out process with a number of assurance steps along the way, which we'd be happy to detail to you in relation to those detailed steps. Those steps look at the governance of an organisation, they look at the quality systems that are in place, and they look at the financial performance of the organisation. As part of the application process for FT, you do need to get